My girlfriend is a genius cellist. I'm completely tone deaf. When the media questioned our relationship by the thousands, she once said, word for word, I'm just trying to be worthy of him. Then, she went to Paris to continue her studies. For 2 years of a long-distance relationship, we promised to FaceTime every day, until I saw a video of one of her concerts, where she stared at the conductor, her eyes full of an unmistakable love. I knew we were over. When it was time for our daily FaceTime, I called Clara, but she didn't pick up. I tried a few more times. This time, someone answered, but it wasn't the voice I was expecting. Yeah? Hello? Who's this? It was a man. I never doubted her. I was just worried. Where's Clara? She's in the shower. Whatever it is, call back later. He hung up. I stared at my phone, then opened our iMessage chat. Are you guys together this late? I couldn't stop myself from asking. The typing indicator bubble appeared and disappeared. A moment later, a message came through. Clara and I have been roommates for a while now. She didn't tell you? My heart felt like it had been plunged into ice water. A bitterness I couldn't name rose in my throat. She had never mentioned this. Not once. We were supposed to be getting married next year. I was supposed to give her my complete trust. But in that second, it felt like a needle had pierced my chest. Still, I wanted to believe her. But I thought of her personality, reserved, almost reclusive, someone who kept the world at a distance. Why would she live with a man, especially a stranger? A little while later, Clara called me back. The voice on the other end was laced with guilt. Babe, I didn't tell you before because I was worried you'd be mad. Clara kept her voice low. I could hear the wind whipping through the phone, as if she'd stepped outside to get away from him. I'm a girl all alone in a foreign country. It's good to have someone around to look after me. You understand that, right? You can't be here to take care of me. So what's wrong with this? You have to think about it from my side, too. I hadn't said a single word, but she had already built a fortress of excuses. Suddenly, a boy's faint groan came from her end of the line, and Clara's voice immediately filled with panic. What's wrong, Julian? It's nothing, just my shoulder acting up again. Where did you put the pain cream last time? I could hear Clara's frantic footsteps. She was always the calm one, the one who would say, don't panic, no matter what happened. But now, she'd completely forgotten her boyfriend was still on the phone. All she cared about was her intimate conversation with another man. Be careful, don't move. I'll get it. Didn't I tell you yesterday you need to use a heating pad more often? You never listened to me. There was a rustling on the other end, as if they had forgotten I existed. It seemed Clara had just tossed her phone aside. A long time passed before she finally remembered me. Babe, I was just so busy today. That's why I missed your call. You can't be mad at me, okay? Or I'll cry. So, she was busy taking care of the man who was supposed to be protecting her, and that's why she forgot her promise to her own boyfriend. I took a deep breath, pushing down my anger, and asked calmly, who is this guy you're living with? Maybe it was because I didn't sound upset, or maybe it was just the mention of his name, but Clara's tone suddenly became bright and cheerful, like a teenage girl with a crush. I told you about him. He's the new conductor in our orchestra. He's amazing. And here you were telling me my performance was just okay. I knew you were lying. Julian's voice cut into our conversation, smug and triumphant. You said I played poorly, so I'd have to buy you dinner. It was all a trick. What do you know? Shut up. Clara's voice was sweet, but all I felt was a sour knot twisting in my stomach. I finally hung up. I wasn't big enough to listen to my girlfriend flirt with another man and pretend it was nothing. After Clara and I got together, people always said we didn't fit. She was beautiful, a prodigy, an inspirational figure who had clawed her way up from nothing. She was responsible, working her way through school, paying her own tuition. She was an orphan who, through sheer, undeniable talent, made people see her. At a school gala, she played a cello piece she taught herself and was immediately taken on as a student by a world-renowned musician. And me? I had to give everything I had just to keep up with her. Clara and I had known each other since we were kids. I watched her suffer through a broken home, watched her become an orphan, and watched her climb, step by step, to where she is now. At her lowest, I was always there, holding her and saying, "Don't cry, Clara. I'll protect you from now on. As long as I'm here, you have a home." We made it official this summer after our SATs. Back then, her eyes were filled with nothing but hope and love for me. "Ethan," she used to say, I can't live without you anymore. She often told me that in her darkest moments, she had thought about ending it all, but that I was the one who pulled her back from the edge. I was her salvation. After Clara became famous, she publicly confirmed our relationship, and the internet exploded. What's with this guy? How does he deserve Clara? Does she have terrible taste? I wouldn't take that guy if you gave him to me. He must be some secret billionaire, right? But she faced the cameras calmly and said, word for word, you don't know him. If you did, you'd understand that I'm the one who's been chasing him all this time. Back then, I believed without a doubt that nothing could ever shake us. So, I studied harder, worked harder, trying to close the gap between us just a little bit more. We both dreamed of a future where we'd never be apart. But then came that one performance a few months ago. Clara and Julian playing together. Their chemistry was electric, so intense, it was like they were the only two people in the world. The way they looked at each other, the smiles they shared. I could only watch on a screen as people online buzzed about their connection. From that day on, a new name started popping up in our FaceTimes. Can you believe Julian is from the same area as us? Julian and I actually signed up for the same elective. Clara would mention him casually, praising a brilliant question he asked in class, marveling at his talent. And now this, living together, a secret she never bothered to tell me. Suddenly, the whole thing felt like a joke. After I hung up on her, Clara called back dozens of times. I ignored every single one. Until the next evening, coming home from work, a girl in a face mask was standing in front of my apartment. It was the face I'd missed every day and every night. Babe, are you mad? I told you. It's just so he can protect me. Clara had taken the red-eye from Paris. She looked exhausted, her face bare of any makeup. You don't want anything bad to happen to me over there, do you? Fine, I'll stop talking to him. Is that what you want? I looked up at her, a stranger I felt I barely knew, and said nothing. But just then, Clara's phone rang. She froze for a second, then glanced at the screen, and her entire focus shifted away from me. What's wrong? Her voice held a soft, worried tone she didn't even realize she was using. It was Julian's voice, laced with despair. Clara, they're coming after me again. I don't want to live anymore. The call ended, leaving Clara looking frantic. Julian, she spun around and bolted, completely forgetting why she had flown across the world to be here. I watched her run, getting smaller and smaller, until she vanished. A long time later, I got a text from her, Babe, Julian has been through a lot, like I was. When I see him, it's like seeing myself. And he has severe depression. I have to help him just this one last time. I can't just stand by and do nothing. I let out a long breath and blocked her number. The moment she ran, we were finished. Clara and I never spoke again. That Christmas, for the first time, I went home alone. My parents noticed her absence immediately. Where's Clara? My mom asked. I swallowed the lump in my throat. She's getting ready to graduate. Her advisor kept her on campus, so she couldn't make it back this year, I said, carefully choosing my words. Clara basically grew up in our house. Our families were so intertwined it was more than just friendship. I couldn't bring myself to tell them the truth when they were looking at me with such hopeful eyes. My parents sighed, disappointed. That poor girl. I made all her favorite dishes. All alone in a foreign country. It's just heartbreaking. Ethan, you need to be there for her. I mumbled an agreement and escaped to the bathroom, hiding from their concerned gazes. Finally, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I sank to the floor, my hand clamped over my mouth, and choked back sobs that shook my entire body. Every year, Clara had come home with me for Christmas. She used to say the thing she looked forward to most was spending the holidays with the person she loved. A little while later, I saw her new Instagram post. It was a photo of her and Julian, smiling together. The caption was short but devastating. Merry Christmas. It turned out she still wanted to spend the holidays with the person she loved. That person just wasn't me anymore. For the next time I saw Clara was after she graduated and moved back to the States. It was, coincidentally, the day we had planned to get engaged. She acted as if nothing had happened, linking her arm through mine with a sweet smile. Let's go out and get something to eat later. I didn't say anything. She stood on her toes to kiss me, but I gently pushed her away. I didn't understand why she was still putting on this act. At the restaurant, Clara ordered just like she always did. Except this time, she ordered a table full of Nashville hot chicken. As she put a piece on my plate, she started talking. Julian's family had it rough. He reminds me so much of my childhood. But he's so talented, Ethan. I can't stand to see that talent go to waste. That last time was an emergency. That's why I didn't have time to explain. I stared at the food in my bowl and said nothing. Babe, don't be so petty. It took me a moment to find my voice. When did you start liking this stuff? She thought I was over the Julian thing, and her cheerful mood returned. I knew you were the most understanding guy in the world. You would have done the same thing, right? You were the one who saved me back then. This was recommended to me by Julian. I don't know what it is with him. He just loves spicy food. He'll eat it until his eyes are watering, and he still won't stop. I cut her off, looking her straight in the eye, and for the first time in our relationship, I raised my voice. Clara, do you have any idea that I can't eat this? She stared at me, confused. After a moment of silence, a smirk played on her lips. Are you refusing to eat just because Julian recommended it? When did you get so childish? You were never like this before. Being jealous is no reason to waste food. You're going to eat it. I clenched my jaw. As she started to say more, I snapped. Enough. Clara, you make me sick. I got a stomach ulcer from the stress of my studies and not eating properly. While I was in the hospital, Clara sat by my bed, tears streaming down her face. She'd sobbed, Ethan, I'll take care of you from now on. I'll cook for you every day. I'll take classes from a real chef, okay. Promises, I guess, only count when you're still in love. I could hear Clara yelling behind me as I walked out, but I felt nothing but a profound numbness. Everything about me. Maybe she'd forgotten it all a long time ago. It wasn't until later that Clara seemed to remember. She showed up in my office with a group of our old friends, looking heartbroken and wronged. We had all grown up together. Our social circles were completely merged. Our friends always said they hoped to see us get married, that we were the couple that was meant to be. I didn't want to make a scene in front of them, especially since they were blocking the entrance to my building. They had arranged a dinner, framing it as a chance for Clara to apologize. I agreed. I wanted to set the record straight in front of everyone. I thought they meant well. What I didn't expect was for Julian to be there. I recognized Julian the moment he walked in. He approached me slowly and sat down in the chair beside me. He was all gentle charm, holding a glass of amber-colored whiskey. He raised it to me. Ethan, I'm sorry that what happened between Clara and me caused problems for you too. Please don't be mad at her. We all know how much she loves you. I watched him, his face just inches from mine, as Clara sent him subtle looks from across the table. Before I could respond, Julian accidentally fumbled his glass, and the whiskey splashed all over me. Clara shot up instantly, pulling Julian back as the dark liquid soaked my white button-down shirt. Not a single drop touched Julian. I was a mess. Everyone gasped, stunned by the sudden drama. No one had expected Clara to be so fiercely protective of the protégé at the center of all the rumors. I quickly excused myself to the restroom to clean up. Julian followed me in. Hello, Ethan. A smug smile played on his lips. I was baffled. I genuinely couldn't believe a grown man would resort to such a cheap, pathetic trick. Even less, that someone would knowingly and relentlessly pursue a person who was already in a committed relationship. Before I could say a word, he spoke. It doesn't matter if you grew up together or if you helped her in the past. That was just kid stuff. You didn't know what love was. What Clara feels for you is gratitude, nothing more. If you had any sense, you'd walk away on your own. So, you're admitting you knew you were the other guy from the start? I shot back. You. Julian's face turned pale with anger. Have you taken a good look at yourself? Do you really think you're good enough for Clara? But don't worry, you'll be out of her life soon enough. I let out a cold laugh. If you want my garbage, she's all yours. A flash of fury crossed Julian's eyes before he spotted Clara walking toward the restroom. His expression immediately changed to one of distress, and he hurried away. Clara reached me, her face hardening as she watched Julian's hasty retreat. She demanded, "What did you say to him? What? Does your heart ache for him?" My voice was cold. Clara's voice rose. "How can you be like this? Julian knew you were upset and came all this way to apologize and clear the air, and this is how you treat him? I never realized you were this kind of person." I pointed to the dark stain on my shirt. "So, I'm just supposed to let you humiliate me? Let's break up, Clara. For real this time." Her eyes went wide, followed by a wave of pure rage. You're breaking up with me because I criticized you a little? Ethan, have you gotten more and more childish over the years? What do you take me for? I was confused. Her tone made it sound like I was the one who had wronged her. I opened my mouth to say something, then closed it. What was the point? What good would it do to rehash all the heartache of the past few months? She probably didn't even care. There was no point in beating a dead horse. Ethan, you need to think this through. If you apologize to Julian, we can pretend none of this ever happened. Her phone rang again. Seeing the look on her face, I knew exactly who it was. Sure enough, it was Julian on the other end. Clara, I can't take it anymore. I don't deserve to exist. I'm even destroying your relationship. I'm so sorry. Clara panicked, trying to keep her voice down as she soothed him. Julian, it's not your fault. This has nothing to do with you. It's Ethan, he's lost his mind. Where are you? I'm coming to find you, okay? Even in his supposed moment of despair, he managed to tell her his exact location. I had to laugh. The only person who would fall for a stunt like this was Clara. And so, I decided to go with her. I wanted to see just how deep the bond between this shameless pair really was. A crowd was gathered at the base of the building. Julian was on a third-floor window ledge. His eyes were full of despair, his legs dangling over the edge. Clara pushed through the crowd, holding out her arms and screaming his name. Julian suddenly became agitated, his legs starting to swing wildly. His voice cut through the noise of the crowd. Don't stop me. It's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, you two wouldn't have broken up. If it wasn't for me, my family wouldn't have fallen apart. Someone like me doesn't deserve to live in this world. Clara's voice was gentle, soothing. No, Julian, you're the best person I know. You're so talented, so kind. We didn't break up because of you. We broke up because we weren't in love anymore. It has nothing to do with you. Her voice was like silk, thick with emotion. Julian shook his head. Did you really break up with him? You love him so much. Clara, her eyes filled with tears, looked up at Julian, her gaze overflowing with love. My heart has belonged to you for a long time now, Julian. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. People started to recognize Clara. Some were shouting encouragement. Others were pulling out their phones to capture the romantic moment. I stood in the middle of it all, quietly watching the performance unfold. I watched Julian come down and pull Clara into a tight embrace, then look over her shoulder and shoot me a triumphant, red-eyed smirk. A cold smile touched my lips. Apparently, the third floor was now considered a life-threatening height. He couldn't even commit to threatening his life from a decent altitude. If Clara was willing to betray me, she would be willing to betray him. Whatever he wanted, he could have it. As a public figure, Clara's dramatic confession sparked a firestorm on social media. Someone commented, "The union of two geniuses. It's absolutely perfect. Maybe I should have bowed out a long time ago, the moment I realized just how ordinary I was." After that, Julian added me on Instagram. He didn't say a word. He just sent me a post of his. A picture of him and Clara, locked in a passionate kiss. The caption was just 3 words, "My other half." I blocked him without a second thought, and I blocked her. It was as if they never existed. 2 absolute morons. After Clara and I broke up, I thought I would feel empty. Instead, I felt liberated. I started to re-examine my social life and found that I already had a life of my own. I applied for a transfer to my company's London office, and my life became busy and fulfilling. Without her, I started to notice the brilliant people I worked with, to appreciate the beautiful city around me. Before, my world had revolved around Clara. I was so devoted to her that I had missed out on so much. But news of Clara and Julian always found its way to me, constantly popping up on my social media feeds. They embarked on a round-the-world trip, with Clara even auctioning off her prized instruments to fund it. They constantly interacted with fans, posted photos, and broadcast every detail of their lives online. Clara even started a dedicated Instagram account just to show off their perfect, sweet love story. I tried to avoid it, to put my phone down and focus on my career. But one day, a mutual friend showed me a video. In it, Julian was proudly showing off a ridiculously expensive watch, pontificating about Clara's philosophy on love. To love someone is to give them the absolute best of everything. My friend was furious on my behalf. He was the one who broke you up, and now he has the nerve to rub it in your face? What a scumbag. I just smiled. After all, I clearly remember that Clara had never spent a single dime on me. From the moment we started dating, I paid for everything. Holiday gifts, groceries, rent. She never contributed a cent. I always assumed it was because she had worked so hard for her money growing up that she knew its value. I never imagined it was because she didn't think I was worth spending money on. It turned out I was just her ATM. I kept my head down and focused on my work, paying no attention to their drama. In her world of whirlwind romance, Clara may have gained a partner, but she lost the discipline and drive that had gotten her there. Who could truly understand all those years of silent effort and hard work? Perhaps in her new life, she had forgotten all the hardships, forgotten how she had fought her way, step by step, to the top. The internet moves fast. A new prodigy emerged in the classical music world, a brilliant young musician who could master multiple instruments. The world flocked to the new star, and Clara's light began to fade until no one was paying attention anymore. But none of that had anything to do with me. My family had found out about the breakup, and every time I came home, they would look at me with such sad eyes. They knew how much we had depended on each other. To them, Clara had become another child of their own. So, the next time Clara showed up at our door, my parents threw the gifts she brought right back out onto the lawn. My mother's voice was sharp with anger. "You venomous snake. We never should have let our Ethan get tangled up with you. When you were hurt and alone, it was our Ethan who cleaned your wounds. It was our family that fed you bit by bit. You worked part-time jobs just to buy yourself a hot dog, but our Ethan spent his whole allowance to buy a huge pack for everyone to share. How can you be such a disgusting person?" Clara tried to explain, but her words trailed off into silence, as if she were being pulled back into the past. I remembered a 14-year-old Clara telling me through her tears that she had no parents left, that she only had me. She had sworn to me, "Ethan, I'll work hard. I'll never betray you. Can you just? Please don't ever leave me." Back then, I believed in that girl who had gone through hell with me. But fate is a fickle thing. After we got together, my quiet father, after a few drinks, pulled her aside and told her, "Clara, you're a brilliant girl. Ethan can be a little slow sometimes, but he truly loves you. I know that as a woman, you might be at a disadvantage, but please, you must never, ever let our Ethan down." How sincere her promises were back then, and how laughable they seem now. I walked toward the door. Clara looked up, her eyes filled with an undeniable guilt. She opened her mouth, then closed it, ultimately saying nothing. I gestured for her to leave, warning her never to show her face in front of my parents again. But just as I was about to walk away, she called out to me, "I am sorry, Ethan. I broke my promise." Her voice was thick with regret, her shoulders trembled slightly, and her eyes were red. I shook my head, my heart a calm sea. It's over. There's no point in saying any of this now. In reality, I was filled with resentment. Resentment that she had betrayed years of my hope and trust. Clara seemed to want to say more, but her phone rang, shattering the silence between us. My gut told me it was Julian, her boyfriend. This time, however, something was different. Clara looked at the caller ID on her screen, and her brow furrowed with a flicker of impatience and annoyance. When she answered, her tone was no longer patient or gentle. "Julian, are you serious? You call me a dozen times a day. Am I your puppet?" The voice on the other end was shrill and sharp. Even without speakerphone, I could hear every word clearly. "Where the hell are you? Why didn't you tell me? Are you with Ethan? You two are broken up. You know that, right?" Julian's voice was a storm of anger and suspicion. "Playing the devoted lover now? You should know there's no future for you and him. He's there with you, isn't he? Trying to steal you away from me? I'm telling you, it's not going to happen." Julian wanted to continue, but Clara hung up on him. Her face was a mask of fury as she struggled to control her emotions. This was not the adoring, lovesick girl from the FaceTime calls. Was she regretting it now? Was she starting to regret her choice? What's wrong? Fighting with him again? Watching the scene unfold, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Not because I thought there was any chance for us, but because people like that are destined for misery. Clara's eyes were a chaotic storm of irritation and disgust. "Julian is just too much. He's so controlling, telling me what to do, and if I don't listen, he throws his depression in my face." Her voice was a mixture of helplessness and rage. He's a complete lunatic. He sees something someone else has, and he has to have it, but he won't lift a finger to earn it himself. He just expects me, a woman, to pay for everything. Clara muttered on, a note of self-pity in her voice. He's constantly showing off on Instagram, posting these fake videos, and he dragged me into his little performances. I'm not an actress. He's always accusing me of seeing other people, always worried I'm going to cheat on him. She trailed off, lost in a memory. As Clara unleashed a torrent of complaints about Julian, a wave of sadness washed over me. I couldn't help but wonder if she had spoken about me this way to him. Watching her now, I suddenly couldn't remember what the Clara who had professed her undying love for Julian on that window ledge even looked like. It was a strange feeling. I shook my head, trying to clear the thoughts. As I turned to leave, Clara's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. She stared at me, her eyes filled with an unspoken emotion, as if she were trying to figure out how to say what she wanted to say. I pulled my arm free without a second thought and walked away. Ethan, she suddenly shouted my name. I paused. She took a deep breath, her voice hesitant and full of shame, and finally got the words out. Just if, what if we had never broken up? Do you think we'd be happy right now? I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Clara, I said softly, stop dreaming. I had settled into my new life in London. Clara came to find me several times, holding photo albums and letters filled with our old memories, but I wanted nothing to do with her. While she was hitting a wall with me, Julian's situation was imploding. Online personalities began exposing the truth behind their supposedly perfect relationship. The same friend who had once shown me their lovey-dovey videos, now full of remorse, went to a popular gossip blogger and laid everything bare. The blogger learned the whole secret, how Julian was the other man, how he had wormed his way into our relationship. The tide turned instantly. Julian's social media was flooded with furious comments. The attacks against Clara were just as vicious, calling her out for cheating on a man who had been nothing but good to her. I thought they would lie low, wait for the storm to pass. Instead, Clara publicly admitted her mistake, confirming that Julian had, in fact, been the homewrecker. The online outrage grew even louder. She has no shame. Threw away a great boyfriend to cheat. I don't get it. What's so special about the other guy? A woman who cheats, giving the rest of us a bad name. Unbelievable. 6 months later, I heard more news. Apparently, since the scandal broke, Clara hadn't received a single performance invitation. With new talent constantly emerging, the cellist with the terrible reputation was quickly kicked out of her orchestra. After her money ran out, Julian didn't scale back his lavish lifestyle at all. He kept buying mansions and luxury cars. The story was that he had maxed out all of Clara's credit cards, leaving them both with crushing debt. Because of the negative press she brought to the brand she endorsed, Clara was forced to pay astronomical breach of contract fees and was completely blacklisted by the industry. It ended with her being hounded by debt collectors. One of them broke her hand. Her music career was officially over. I admit, I never saw it ending quite like that. My friend, the one who had spoken to the blogger, had kept in touch. When she heard the news, she called me. Ethan, she asked, does it still hurt? I smiled. I've learned to let go of the need to save people and just respect the choices they make. She breathed a sigh of relief. Good. I was just worried you were still hung up on your childhood sweetheart. I was afraid you'd feel sorry for her. After all, even I thought you two would make it to the end. I won't feel sorry for her. After all, I never, ever wanted to go back. Clara's situation was dire. To pay off the bottomless pit of debt, she was scrambling, selling her apartment, her car, taking out loans, but it was never enough. Meanwhile, I had just been promoted to a management position. On my way to the celebration dinner, Clara appeared again. The moment I saw her, I turned to walk away. I didn't know the meaning of pity. All I knew was that we were strangers, and there was no reason to see each other. Ethan, Clara called out desperately. She ran up and grabbed the corner of my jacket, her voice choked with tears. I know you hate me. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. But please, just stay with me for a little while. I looked at her coldly. Why would I do that? Clara bit her lip as a tear rolled down her cheek. I pulled my jacket from her grasp. If you're looking for someone to lean on, you can go find Julian. Or any other man. You don't need to come to me. I just feel like you're the only one who would ever stand by my side. No one else could ever understand how much pain I'm in, she sobbed. Well, I wish you the best. I hope you get out of this mess and find your happiness. Clara clenched her fists, her eyes red. You still blame me, don't you? I glanced at her, not bothering to engage. You're overthinking it. I started walking again. She chased after me. Ethan, don't leave me, please. No. Are you going to be happy only when you've driven me to my death? I stopped and said calmly, Clara, we're finished. She shook her head, crying uncontrollably. I know I let you down, but... I cut her off, my voice devoid of any warmth. If that's the case, then we have nothing more to talk about. Goodbye. With that, I walked into the elevator without a backward glance and pressed the button for my floor. Ding. As the door slid shut, her voice faintly reached me. I closed my eyes. Wait, Ethan, she suddenly called out. Let's just talk. I have something for you. She was holding a giant glass jar filled with paper stars. That jar was a relic of our past. Clara had stayed up nights folding those stars. Each star held a small wish from her, one for every day. We had a pact. We would open one star a day until the very last one lit up our wedding day. She opened the lid and handed me the first star she pulled out. On it was written, Today I'm going to marry Ethan. It was her final wish. Her eyes were filled with a desperate hope, her expression pleading. Ethan, this is the last wish. Through all these years, through everything that's happened, I've realized that I was only ever truly happy when you were by my side. I was wrong. I'll do whatever it takes to pay off my debts. I'll fulfill the promise we made. Can you give me one more chance? Just one last time. I'm begging you. I silently took the slip of paper from her. Her handwriting was unmistakable. I never doubted that the girl who tutored me every day back then truly loved me. I never doubted that what we had was real, that it had blossomed over countless days and nights. But when I compared the brave, free-spirited girl from my memory to the stained, exhausted woman standing before me, I saw two different people. This one had the same face and the same name, but she had lost her soul. And without that soul, the dream was gone. She wasn't her anymore. She wasn't the vibrant girl I had loved. A woman who had betrayed me could not be a part of my memory or my heart. No matter how weak I might feel, I could never go back and try to piece together something so broken. I took a deep breath and threw the jar of stars onto the ground. The glass shattered, sending a galaxy of paper stars scattering across the pavement. Clara, if you can put this jar back together, I'll take you back. Because some things, once broken, can never be made whole again. The disgust in my voice was impossible to hide. Clara flinched, and finally, unable to bear the shame, she turned and ran. I didn't care who she ended up with or what became of her. All I knew was that from that moment on, I would erase every trace of Clara from my memory. 15. That night, I fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I was back on a summer afternoon from my childhood. The sun filtered through the leaves, warm and gentle. Suddenly, I heard a girl crying from the house next door, a sound full of helplessness and pain. The girl ran out, her eyes clear but deeply wounded, her small body looking as if it had been tormented by life itself. There were faded bruises on her face that made my heart ache. I stood frozen, caught by her sad, hopeful gaze. Her eyes were like deep pools of water, reflecting all the twists and turns of a difficult life. I turned to leave, but her words stopped me. In a trembling voice, she said, Can you please just stay with me for a little while? I didn't turn back. Clara, if I could turn back time, I would choose to have never met you at all. And then I walked away,